Hey folks, welcome to this Bad GM's Campaign Build Along YouTube special. As always, I'm the Bad GM Wayne Davis, and this is a show I promised several weeks ago and am just getting around to getting to you. I wish I had a good reason for waiting so long, but the only thing I can tell you is I've been having a few issues with my web camera, so I had to figure out another way to do this. And between that and having some personal issues to deal with, I just now had the time to get it done. So that's on me, and I apologize for promising something I didn't get done immediately. So the quality's not exactly what I wanted, but I really couldn't wait any longer to get this to you. I basically just shot a picture of the map I drew out when I wrote this episode originally several weeks ago, and I'm going to go back over the script for that episode and make the corrections to it as we go along. So we're going to start in the lower right corner, since that's where the group will enter into the basement from the main level of the art museum. And we pick up the script from there. As they enter the basement, there's a wall running to their right, east, for about 100 feet before the wall in front of them, at the 150-foot mark, forces them to make a right-hand turn. The room they're standing in is about 150 feet wide by 270 feet long, and it's apparent this was once some sort of evaluation room for pieces of art. Dozens of desks are in here, and there are various stands on them that paintings and sculptures could be set on in order to be evaluated for authenticity. No combat challenges in here, so they've got a moment to catch their breath. There's a door on the south wall at the 140-foot mark, and it's near the western wall. It's not locked, so the group can open it and head in. This hallway is 50 feet wide and 270 feet long. It's also guarded, though the turrets here aren't anything they haven't seen before. Wall-mounted laser turrets are what we're tossing at them, stats on pages 380 and 381. Now, this hallway opens up about 2/3 of the way down, so use however many you'd like and spread them out however you'd like. They're level 5, so if you want to go double the number of group members, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. However, if your group's taken a pounding to this point, you've also got the option to only put 2 or 3 in here to allow them to get through a bit easier. That left-hand turn to the east, then to the north, opens into another evaluation room with about 10 desks in here, which would lead the group to surmise that larger art pieces were probably checked here. This room's 75 feet wide and 270 feet long, so space the desks out however you'd like. There are also 2 doors here, one near the southern wall and one about 30 feet from the northern wall. They're standard-sized doors, and they're both unlocked. Behind the southern door, they find a very large storage closet. It's 100 feet wide and 75 feet long, and has crates organized into very neat stacks. They're all empty, but they're stacked nicely. The obvious assumption is that these crates once held art pieces and were stacked in here for future use. The condition of the crates would also be a dead giveaway, and the fact that they're still together after more than 200 years is probably due to the fact that they were behind a door in a basement room. Or at least that'll be the most likely theory. The other door leads into a 10-foot wide, 75-foot long hallway. Nothing of note here, but when the southernmost wall ends at 75 feet, they've got the option to either turn to the north or to the south, and both hallways are 10 feet wide. Since my group has a thing for going left, we'll do that one first. I mentioned the hallway is 10 feet wide. It's also short, about 15 feet long. A standard door is at the end, and it's locked with a more sophisticated lock than they've seen thus far. That means it's perception plus luck, difficulty 5. When they enter the room, they find the source of the radiation that's been pumped into the park. The system appears to be drawing radiation out of a half-dozen nukes, siphoning off the radioactive materials and pumping them through a system of pipes that seem to run through the northern wall. There's also a rather unusual-looking system that seems to be creating smog and combining it with the radiation. No clue as to how they're doing it, but at a glance it would appear it's drawing off the building's systems to make it work. Again, the group has a decision to make: destroy the system or figure out how to deactivate it. Destroying the system would lead to releasing a lot of radiation into a 150 by 300 foot room and would certainly kill anyone who's not a ghoul, super mutant, or robot. So that's not their best option. That would be option 2, which is deactivation. There appear to be 3 separate computers running the system, so that's going to require 3 intelligence plus science checks, difficulty 3. There's a problem though. All 3 checks must be made at the same time, which means that 3 group members have to work together to make it happen, and they all have to succeed. You know what? Let's give someone an intelligence plus science difficulty 2 to figure that out. I mean, we want them to succeed, so let's give them a way to do so. Now, failure is always an option, but since there are 3 ways to fail, there are 4 possible outcomes. The first is that all 3 checks succeed. At that point, the system shuts down safely and no more radiation or smog is being pumped into the air. The second is that 2 succeed, but 1 fails. We'll be nice and give them something, but not what they really want. The smog will be stopped, but the radiation will continue to pour out. Next up is a single success and 2 failures. One of the systems is going to fail. Again, we'll be nice and make it the smog system, which means that smog will start to fill the room. As soon as it does, they've got about a minute to get out of the room before visibility becomes 0 and they start choking on it as they breathe it in. So, skip on to the next room we cover. The last one is the worst possible outcome, which is 3 failures. The entire system fails and the room is quickly filled with both smog and radiation. They've got 30 seconds to get out and get the door shut before they've got issues, and even then the radiation will affect them since they're not in their power armor. This is where the Rad-X and Radaway is going to come into play. And if the group successfully shuts the systems down, they can cannibalize them for parts. Use your judgment on what they can get. Let's get back into the hall and take that right that we could have taken when we went left. This hallway's longer than the other at 180 feet. It's still only 10 feet wide, however. At the 180-foot mark, it swings to the left and goes another 50 feet before it gets to the door. This one's unlocked, and when they enter the room, they'll find out why. We don't know what might have been here at one time, but what we do know is that there are 2 Assaultrons in here today. Same stats as before, but they don't get any backup. Once they're done, there are doors on the eastern and northern walls, and we'll continue to use the left first philosophy. The door is unlocked and they have another encounter, 5 more than the total number of group members, and it's more Garson tactical. We're using the Brotherhood of Steel Paladin stats, but they don't have the power armor, so adjust accordingly. For those who didn't note the page, stats are on pages 383 and 384. Oh, and it goes without saying, but if you feel that any of the encounters I've laid out are too powerful, adjust the numbers to match your comfort level. If I'm honest, I'd rather underpower an encounter than overpower it, even though I seem to be overpowering them for this show. Don't know what that says about me as a GM, but it's probably not anything good. Again, no clue as to what was once in this room, but there are mattresses everywhere now. There's a door on the northern wall, and we'll head through that to the next room. The door's not locked, and they can easily enter and get a quick look around. The room's 200 feet long and 150 feet wide, and they realize that, for once, nothing's here to attack them. Heck, there's nothing in the room. So again, we don't know what this room once was, but it's nothing now. There is a door on the eastern wall, and we're going to go through that. The room is 300 feet wide and 600 feet long and is, as you might have guessed, the final room for this scenario. And I'm going to stop here because you can go back to the adventure where we wrote it previously, and you can go run it from there. So that is our corrected map section for the Art Museum episode from about a month ago. Again, I apologize for taking so long to get it to you, but I do hope it was worth the wait. As always, make sure you're following us on social media as I try to keep things up to date on there for delays on postings and other things to do with the shows and for Bad GM Productions as a whole. All the places you can follow us are in the info box for this video. Until we meet again, I am the Bad GM Wayne Davis, and I'll see you at the game table.